Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DTT. I'll get used to saying that eventually. So prototypes. Prototypes are a very, very important part of this game. It is a progression system that has been in the game since launch. There were red prototypes at launch. None of them were really that great, if I'm being honest. But that said, they are very, very important, and having the right prototypes on your teams can mean the difference between excelling and just getting by, or in PvP winning and losing. So I have a prototype video, guide video out, but it's dated, it's old. So I've updated my master spreadsheet. I do have a prototype sheet on that master spreadsheet, or a prototype tab, I guess, but we're going to go over it so that I can discuss it with you today. It is linked in the description of this video as well. So let's go right to it, because I still get questions about what prototype should I update first, or which one is good, and etc, etc, etc. So let's go right to it, and we'll start at the top. So actually we're gonna leave the good stuff for the end. I have it sorted into like the rest, C tier, B tier, A tier, and then triple S tier. So these are ones that, yeah, there are some red ones on here, but you're never really going to need these. I would argue that yellows are better than these reds, right? And you'll see I kind of have little comments on here. You know, old proto not used. It's a first slot proto, middle slot proto, middle slot. So I will say which slot it is, because there's the first slot, middle slot, and last slot. So like this one, Apocalypse Cloak, that's a hunter prototype that gives you a bunch of damage reduction, but it's in the attack slot. First slot prototypes are generally attack slot. Middle slots are generally survivability, and the last slot is generally support or healing. So this one is really stupid, in my opinion. It needs to be reworked, and as such, it's in the rest. You'll never use it. Some of these purple ones you'll use at the very beginning when you start. Like if you're a brand new account or you're a new account, you'll probably use these, but you're very, very going to quickly going to disregard these prototypes for other ones. Let's quickly go over to the C tier. So these ones you can just throw on for stats, basically. They all have their function. This is a tank proto that applies stun, tank prototype that decreases attack speed. This one increases debuffs, I do believe. We used to use this with res. Or no, this one reduces resistance. No, this is for debuffs. This one's for resistances. Last slot proto. And I used to say use on summoner team with res, but I don't even use these that much anymore. So you'll use these a little bit more, and then you'll disregard them. So B tier, Red Thorn Rune. Unfortunately, by the time that you will get this thing up to a usable evolution, you won't need it anymore, because it is so rare. I know people that have been playing since launch that still don't have this thing maxed just due to RNG. Dark Summit, you know, it can be good with hunters in certain PvE scenarios, or against tanks. This one, Company Heroes, it can be useful in Twilight Lands on generalist bonds. Otherwise, it's not very useful. Scholar's Monument, I still use that with a summoner team if you're running no support. Like say if you're running like a res on your team, you can use this. It basically turns crits into heals. And then Praying Eyes you will use until you get something better. Vision Stone you will use if you can get it. It's also one of those extremely rare ones. It's mainly used with energy and hunters to increase damage, I do believe, in short encounters. And then Coronate is a purple prototype, but it is decent. It is a healing prototype. It is still decent. There are instances where you might want to run this, especially if you don't have some red ones. So I'm not going to go in depth into the B, C, and the rest tiers, because you're just mainly going to use them for stats. You're just going to plug them in because you got them, and you're going to be able to get the majority of those, other than Red Thorn Rune and Vision Stone. You're going to be able to get them fairly plentifully from Terradome. So now we go into the A tier. So A tier ones are ones that do have use. They have a use, but they're not the best. So Horn of Healing is a healing prototype. It is a red prototype. It is good. It is not good with AoE healers. Or no, it is only good with AoE healers, not so good with single target healers. Like a Serena isn't going to get a whole use out of this. Miranda isn't going to... Well, no, Miranda is... Yeah, she's not going to get a use out of this. You can use this until you get the crystal that is in the S tier. This is a decent healing prototype, but it is definitely not the best. Fifth Element. I had it here because it had a niche use, but really, if I'm being honest, it boosts attack speed, so it can be used with hunters. But there's a lot of, like, mediocre hunter prototypes, and this is kind of one of them. But, you know, it is a red prototype. It does have some uses now that we have a lot of hunters that are based around attack speed as their primary, the modifier in their kit. So you can use this. Thorn of Glory as well, same thing. It boosts attack speed. It is good for hunters. It is good for, in my opinion, single target hunters, aka Emma, Rebecca, those type of hunters, not AoE hunters. But I would not... You'll get this plentifully. Twilight Lands likes to give these two out quite regularly, along with Horn of Healing and Solar Flare. So these ones you can just level up passively as you're doing Twilight Lands each month. But Thorn of Glory, you can use this in Disa Caves because there is a component of attack speed in there. You can also use it in the Molten Abyss. There's an element of attack speed there. Attack speed, if you didn't know, only increases the ability for you to... It increases the speed at which you use your basic ability. Solar Flare, if you can get this one maxed, it is actually fairly good. But now we have a better one, so that's why it's in the A tier. So it is a first slot prototype. It is the energy prototype if you don't have the Cosmo book. Flowing Rune and Vision Stone are close to good, and Flowing Rune and Vision Stone will be better than Solar Flare if your Solar Flare is under leveled or under evolved. You need it at least, I'd say, level 4 before you want to start using it versus, say, a Flowing Rune or a Vision Stone. Attract Beholder, I used to have this one in the Triple S tier. This is the AoE Hunter prototype. First slot prototype. It also heals your hunters once you get it up to level 4. It was the damaging and healing prototype for hunters. As I say here in bold, it's needed at higher levels though to be effective because you don't get that healing element until you get it to level 4. A lot of these red prototypes have another ability baked into it, but they're not active until level 4. Soaring Medallion and Ancestral Will. So Soaring Medallion just still gets uses, right? It is a purple prototype. It is often paired with your hunters, specifically Taylor. I have on here on Guild Hunt Turbine Boss 369. That's kind of outdated. You kind of really don't need Taylor to down the Turbine Boss, nor is he ideal with the introduction of Purin and Sif. But this does get some uses in certain dungeons. You can use this in Molten Abyss as well. You can use this in Disa Caves. You can use this in the Endless Battle that are hunter battles. It still gets a lot of use. And then Ancestral Will is, I have on here, it is a middle slot prototype. It is best in slot for tanks. It is the prototype for PvP tanks. Now, I'm assuming that eventually this game is going to give us a middle slot prototype for tanks. What this one does is it increases the shielding and healing that your tanks give themselves. And a lot of them do shield themselves, and a lot of them do heal themselves. So this is still, in my opinion, even if you have Wamagon on your team, just Wamagon, it still makes it the best in-slot prototype for the middle position for tanks. And I will have this best in-slot highlighted or in a different color so you can see it easily to know that these are the ones you want to use if you have them. Okay, now let's go into the big old meat, the meat, I guess it is the meat and the potatoes of prototypes. So, the SSS tier, these ones are all best in slot for their classes. If you wanted to know which prototypes are the best for whatever class you are running, these are them. And I recommend whatever class you are working on or you have most developed, you probably want to work on the prototypes for that class. I wouldn't spread your materials out. They are making the crystals, the advancement crystals a little bit more plentiful to get, but don't spread them out everywhere where you're not going to get value. I would argue that the summoner ones, given that the summoner team is currently the weakest, are probably, you could probably not focus on them right now. And now that since we're over here, I'm going to pop my head back in here. There we go. So let's start at the top. Basically, what I want to summarize right there is what prototype should you advance, or what prototype should you work on? Ones in the SSS tier and ones that are specific to the class that you have most developed, okay? There you go. Let's start at the top. Prism Amulet. This thing has been around since day one, and it is still the best in-slot middle prototype for your Vanguard. You can go read the description in-game, if you will, but basically what it does is it reduces the damage taken by your Vanguards, and if they kill a unit that has pumped a lot of damage into them, then it negates the damage altogether. This is a must for Vanguards, because Vanguards are all about being up in your face, and they are going to get hit. And without this prototype, Prism Amulet, they're going to get hit a lot freaking harder. So they Eternal Evolution, and they did this once, and I don't know why they stopped, but they gave us yellow versions of the Mythic prototype that were, when they were maxed, they did roughly half what the Mythic did. So you can go read the descriptions, but just know that this, I think it's called Thorn of something. This is the lesser equivalent of Prism Amulet, and you want to run this in your middle slot until you get your Prism Amulet up and running. And that is how all of these yellow ones are going to work that I have in the SSS class. Until you get the Mythic prototype, those are going to be the best in slot for your class. So this is the Ruler's Ring. This is the Summoner's prototype. It is a middle slot prototype. It will heal your summoners when the summons die. So when their summons die, it will heal your summoners. This, I can't remember what this one was called, this yellow version, but this is the one, again, that you're going to want to run until you get Thorn of Glory, or not Thorn of Glory, Ruler's Ring up and running. Middle slot prototype, best in slot for summoners. Must have for high-end gameplay. And I say right on here, use the yellow version until you acquire the red one. And all of these red prototypes you're going to find in this category, the SSS category, use the gene, or the prototype gene hybrids, the whatever crystal, I can't remember what crystal they're called. Use them to upgrade these, but only if this is the class that you have most developed on your roster. Phantom Cloak, this is the assassin one. We do have this Phantom Sash, I do believe it's called. But again, the same thing here, run the yellow till you get the red. This is best in slot middle prototype for assassins. Dominant Nucleus. These three, the Titan's Hammer, Crimson Meteor, and Dominant Nucleus, we do not have yellow analogs for them. So you're going to have, it sucks. Your teams are going to be worse off, especially summoners. This Dominant Nucleus, there is no other first slot prototype for your summoners. There just isn't. So if you don't have Dominant Nucleus, you effectively only are using a prototype in the first slot for stats and stats only. This ramps up the damage of your summons. This is needed. This is the best in slot first slot prototype for a summoner team. Crimson Meteor. Now, even though it doesn't have a yellow analog, since it is a hunter prototype, you can use the hunter prototypes that are in the A tier until you get this one. This is the current newest prototype in the game. As such, it's probably not going to be available for free to play for at least 3 months. Eye of Annihilation, which is down here. Cosmo, the book, was released previous to the crossbow, and then the Eye of Annihilation was released previous to that, and only now are we starting to get the Eye of Annihilation available for free to play, but only if they finish in the top, I do believe, 10 or 5, top 5 of Twilight Land. So extremely difficult to get, but it will probably be available as a level 16 reward next month in Twilight Lands. They kind of have a little bit of a rotation for how they rotate these prototypes through Twilight Lands. So Dominant Nucleus, I do believe, was the stage 16 reward last month. I do believe Phantom Cloak is the stage 16, just the stage 16 clear. You don't have to rank, just the clear reward. So they are starting to put these more best in slot ones available as stage 16 rewards in Twilight Lands. Why? Oh, my monitor just crapped out, although it says that it was okay on my stream. So keep that in mind. Crimson Meteor, this one you're not going to see for a long time unless you bought it. And the only way to buy it right now was last week when it was available with Artemis summons in the whatever that astral it was an evolution event for Artemis. So this thing's gone, probably not going to be available. It'll come to the shop probably soon, and then eventually it'll make its way into Twilight Lands. So keep your eye on the lookout for that. This is the best in slot for hunters. It's a first slot prototype, and until you get this, use one of these red ones over here. Very rare and hard to obtain. Major, I spelled major wrong. Damage booster for hunters. Titan's Hammer. Okay. A lot of people just got their first copy of Titan's Hammer because it's made its rounds through Gamuzo's Bell. It has been in the Quantum Mimic machine. I do believe some people got it from there. And it was a stage 16 Twilight Lands reward. Oh, when was that? I think it was a top 5 reward last month, but people are starting to get it now. But this is the best in slot first prototype or first slot prototype for tanks, and there, just like the summoner one, there are 0 replacements for this prototype. This is the only first slot prototype which boosts attack for tanks, much like Dominant Nucleus. So really try to get one of these when it becomes available. Impulse of Annihilation. So Impulse of Annihilation, much like the ones that we talked about above, these yellow ones have been in the game since launch, but these yellow prototypes are weaker versions of their mythic prototype counterparts. So Impulse of Annihilation and Pain Rune. Use Pain Rune until you get the Impulse of Annihilation. Both of these work on hunters, or not hunters, vanguards and assassins. Pain Rune is better paired with Hagridon if you're going to use it, whereas Impulse of Annihilation just does good things for your vanguards and hunters. Or why am I saying hunters? Vanguards and assassins. This is a first slot prototype. Both of these are first slot prototypes. Both of them are best in slot for vanguards. They're best in slot for vanguards, not best in slot for assassins. So almost mandatory for vanguards. Huge synergy with Hagridon Commander. Can be used with assassins under Hagridon. Very rare and hard to obtain. Pain Rune is not rare and hard to obtain. You'll get that very quickly with when you're doing Terradome. But use your prototype gene hybrids to upgrade Impulse, not Pain Rune. Don't use it to upgrade Pain Rune. Much like Pain Rune and Impulse of Annihilation, Revitalization Crystal and Flashpoint are their counterparts, the one yellow, the one red. Both do roughly the same thing, but Impulse of Annihilation does kind of what Flashpoint does and what Horn of Healing does. So keep that in mind, that you can use Horn of Healing before you get Revitalization Crystal, but in some cases, Flashpoint might still be better. So Flashpoint and Revitalization Crystal both shield units when you overheal them. They both reduce the cooldown when you heal, right? Cooldowns when you heal. So Impulse of Annihilation is best in slot for the last slot in general, but it is best in slot for supports. Anybody that can heal, best in slot. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that there is a OP broken interaction with Revitalization Crystal and Flashpoint with Purin, because Purin doesn't actively heal. She has a dot that triggers every second. No, a hot, sorry. She has a heal over time that triggers every second. That procs the cooldown portion of both of these prototypes, and as such, she will be reducing the cooldowns of her skills every second. So if you have a Purin, make sure she's paired with one of these two prototypes. And definitely use the prototype gene hybrids, whatever they're called, on the Revitalization Crystal. Now, Eye of Annihilation. This is the best in slot for assassins. It is a first slot prototype. Now, it doesn't have a yellow analog. It has a purple analog. This purple analog, the Chaos chip, is just as good, if not better, than your Eye of Annihilation until you get your Eye of Annihilation leveled up sufficiently. There is like a break point where the benefit you get from running Chaos chip is only outweighed once you get the Eye of Annihilation up to like level 4, 5, or 6. So keep that in mind. Mandatory for endgame assassins. Very rare and hard to obtain. That's this one, the purple one, you're going to get very, very, very easily. Chaos chip will be better. There it is. Until Eye of Annihilation is at level 4. So keep that in mind. And then Notes of the Cosmos Lord. So both of these, this one and this is called Flowing Rune, are best in slot for your energy team. Now, this prototype right here, Solar Flare, Flowing Rune and Vision Stone are close to as good until you get Solar Flare up to level 4, 5, or 6. So keep that in mind. But they do different things. Solar Flare will increase the attack for your, or the damage or attack of your energy heroes when they hit multiple targets. And that's good because most of the energy heroes do AoEs. So this is really, really good. But this one does not restore energy when hitting multiple targets, which is what Flowing Rune does. Basically, or Flowing Rune. Basically, the Notes of the Cosmos Lord is Flowing Rune and Solar Flare together, much like Revitalization Crystal was Horn of Healing and Flashpoint together. Notes of the Cosmos Lord is the OP prototype for your energy team. But until you get it up at a high enough level, then you could probably get away with using Solar Flare or Flowing Rune in its place. Yeah, I said right here. Flowing Cosmos Lord is Flowing Rune on steroids. So not only are you going to get a big old energy boost every time you hit multiple targets, but you're also going to get a big old damage boost. Increased ult damage is what you start getting at level 4. Level 4. Better than, and it becomes actually better than Flowing Rune once you get it to level 3. So there you go. So you're going to be able to replace Flowing Rune with the Cosmos book at level 3, and then you're going to be able to basically replace Solar Flare once it gets to level 4, because then you're starting to get that extra ultimate damage as well. And definitely use prototype gene hybrids to upgrade this puppy. So ladies and gentlemen, this spreadsheet is linked in the description on my master spreadsheet. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can join my Discord and you can hit me up there, or you can put the comments down in the YouTube channel. I do respond to all the comments, although it is a little bit more difficult because if you guys didn't know how the comments work, I will always see the first comment. It will always be visible to me on my YouTube creator page. But as soon as I respond to a comment, it disappears. I can't see it unless I go to the actual video. I can't see your response unless I go to the actual video and look at it. So like you ask a question, I can see it at all times. As soon as I answer it, it's gone. I can't see it anymore on my dashboard. I would have to go, if you responded to my response, I would have to go looking for it. So that is why it's much, much, much easier if you come into my Discord, which is also linked in the description below, and then we can just talk back and forth, right? And you can tag me and I can tag you and yada, yada, yada. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up right there. This is my updated prototype, basically tier list. It's not really a tier list because I didn't break it out. This one's the best. This one's the worst. I broke it out by class. I broke it out by best in slot for your class and best in slot for its slot, first, second, or third. That's the better way to do it. Because me telling you that Cosmos Lord is better than Solar Flare doesn't do you any good when you need Cosmos Lord at level 3 and 4 or higher before it actually becomes usable. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap this one up right there. I hope you enjoyed it. I see that people are still viewing my old one, so I am going to put my little go find the new one thumbnail on that one. So if you guys ever sorry if you went and clicked on that one and watched that one too, because that one's updated, and I will try to keep this spreadsheet updated as new prototypes come into the game. I will shuffle everything around. If I had to guess what's coming next, I would hope that we're getting some middle slot prototypes for tanks. I hope that's the next one. Other than that, I don't know, because everybody's kind of got good prototypes right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap that one up right there. Word of the day is proto. Just proto. Put proto down in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you in the next one. Cheers, peace. Later, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.